Hey guys, Nick here. Today we'll be covering the end of Season 2 going into Season 3. Now, with Sophia getting in kind of a safe attitude or just safe place with the Saviors for now, will this mean that she ever sees Rick and them again? Will she like Negan more than even her own mother and Rick? And how is Rick's group doing at the farm with a massive horde coming their way? This is part 4 to What If Sophia Joined Negan. Now, where we left off, the horde is finally approaching the farm. And this is near the end of Season 2. And everybody arms themselves to the teeth with whatever weapons they have at their disposal. Plus, some added bonuses because of some extra survivals. The two most important of all, Shane and Dale, pretty much the only two that really died around this time, really. So, yeah. Dale, being on lookout, as he most likely would be at his usual spot near the RV to be the first one to detect any notice of the horde approaching the farm. And, sure enough, near nighttime, the horde finally arrives. Now, this would be pretty much like at the same point that they arrived normally, if not maybe a little bit sooner, given the circumstances. So, nothing too major, except this time, Rick and everybody else is ready for them. Rick then shouts to everybody to get their guns ready and to open fire. They're going to give them everything they've got. Now, first, they use snipers. This, of course, being probably Dale, Andrea, maybe T-Dog, maybe Glenn. But anyways, that aside, snipers are used first, and it actually blitzes quite a few walkers. I would say, given the ammo that they would have for snipers at the time, probably 15, 20 walkers at most. Then they switch to machine guns. And don't get me wrong, they do put up a better fight here since they're more prepared against the horde. But we all saw how big the horde was whenever it approached the farm. It wasn't huge compared to hordes we saw after that. But even with them being prepared and only going to machine guns and still doing a good much, it's still not enough. Because the amount of walkers that are still around is still way too much for them to handle hand to hand, even with a huge bunch of them being alive. Rick knows this, and at this point, kind of starts to agree on the side of which Dale said, and they should have just left well enough alone, left the farm, and it probably would have been easier. Sure, they would have encountered the horde maybe on their way out of the farm, but they could have avoided them rather than staying here, possibly going to die. But Patricia has an idea. She mentions burning down the barn. And remember, Rick and Carl burned down the barn in the original story because they were just coming back and saw the horde after the whole Shane incident. But with none of that happening here because of Randall being put down, this means that the plan to burn down the barn had not been initiated, and Rick, having not killed Sophia or Shane, would not have thought of this as simply as he did in the original story. So Patricia instead recommends it herself, and that she'll do it, and if it means her dying in the process to save everybody, she'll do it. And soon enough, the barn bursts up in flames, with walkers getting attracted to it. Rick and everybody wait for Patricia to emerge, but she doesn't. Now, does this mean she's dead? No. But even if that's the case, they don't have time to worry about this, because even with this, there are still way too many walkers for them to be taking hand to hand. And Rick knows this, and he says that even if they were able to take all of the rest of them down, they'd be completely dry on ammo, and they almost are. So, Rick says, unfortunately, they're going to have to go with Dale's plan. They're going to have to get out of here and live to fight another day, so it would seem. Dale finally having some kind of joy in this scary moment with his plan actually being recommended, is told by Rick to get the RV and for everyone else to get the vehicles for everyone to get out of there. Now, remember how I said Patricia wasn't killed? Unfortunately, on her way out of the barn safely, she's caught by walkers and eaten like she was originally. Now, this would either have to be earlier than her original death by an episode or something, or a little bit later into the episode that she was originally killed. Either way, she served a bigger purpose than her original counterpart. Now, Jimmy, spoiler, is not going to die here. At least, not yet. He actually goes with Dale to get the RV while everyone else gets the vehicles. Because Jimmy, I feel, who went for the RV in the original, would want to go for it. And with Dale being alive, he would probably want to accompany him because, Dale's old, probably gets surrounded, he wants to protect him best he can. And because of this, and Dale being around, and with his gun and everything, and Jimmy having weapons of his own and being on his guard, rather than being caught in the RV like his original counterparts, gets to actually live here. And as for everyone else, they get the vehicles, and everyone makes it out of there okay. So the only victim here was Patricia. She pretty much died how her original counterpart did. But Jimmy gets to live, Dale's still around, and we have plenty of other survivors, which I'll touch more on in a moment. Now, important thing that I've touched base upon in other episodes. Dale is alive, so I feel that this in turn would mean that Andrea would likely not get separated. Why is this? Well, especially for this story, they were all together. So I feel that because of Andrea not getting separated, she would not meet the governor, and that's going to play a bit into the governor, how he acts too. Now, Michonne, something important. Often when I say that Andrea is never found by Michonne and everything, I just throw Michonne to the side to be joining Negan, or something like that. And unless you want to count my What If Negan Killed Maggie remake, in which she's actually a good person. But if you guys think that I'm just going to have her join Negan and just die originally like I have in a few of my other stories, you're half right. But she's going to be playing a much different part when she does join Negan. Spoiler alert again. But that's for another part. Now, like I said, Patricia was the only victim. Everybody else makes it to the highway like they did originally. Now, the survivors are which being Shane, Jimmy, and Dale, because everyone else, they all lived, except for Sophia, which she's still alive, just with Negan. Now, I feel that them going to the highway would have more meaning here. And with Andrea being around, she did not join the governor and everything else, like I said, so that's going to play into the governor's story too. And Rick is also a changed man, because as I stated before, he has not shot Sophia's walker, he has not killed Shane, and he also didn't see Shane come back to life as a walker. So Rick is much softer here. Now I feel, like I said, the highway would have more meaning here, because who knows? Sophia still could be there because she was never found at the farm as a walker. But to everyone's, she didn't even pick up her stuff. She didn't even go the way of the highway. She just went off on her own direction, so the group still sees her stuff there. And pretty much everything like that goes like originally, except the RV makes it to where everyone stops at the clearing. So RV gets to stay a little bit longer. But aside from that, we have quite a few changes on our hands. That of most important being, Rick doesn't know for certain that they're all infected. So, how will this play into furthering the series? And with Andrea staying, how will this further into the governor? And how is Sophia sitting in to Negan's place so far? And that's where we're going to be leaving things for the moment. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed the fourth part to the series. Hope you guys are enjoying What If Sophia Joined Negan as a whole, because, like I said in the last episode, I'm definitely enjoying making these. There'll definitely be a lot more action in the next part, but I hope you guys enjoyed nonetheless, and I'll see you guys next time.